Millions of Iranians in the capital Tehran and across the country are marking a historic turning point that transformed Iran from a US ally to its arch foe. And that's the 1979 Islamic Revolution that toppled Iran's last monarch, Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, and established a new political system that's a theocratic clerical rule called the Islamic Republic that's been ruling the country for over 4 decades. So as you can see, people from all walks of life have gathered today, marching from two landmarks, the Inqilab or Revolution Square in downtown Tehran, all the way to the Azadi Square or Freedom Square, like 6 kilometers away from the Inqilab Square. That's a symbolic path taken and marched every year by different Iranians to renew their allegiance to the principles of the Islamic Revolution and, of course, announce and express their support for the Islamic establishment, including the leader of Iran, the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei. But this year, it's very much different compared to previous years, as this year comes against the backdrop of a historic, unprecedented naval buildup by the United States around Iran's water space, and of course the looming conflict between the two sides. And Iran now is facing a fork of war versus diplomacy. Actually, they're urging the Iranian government to stand firm to its principles, and they are relaying very strong messages today to the world and of course to the Islamic Republic, saying they're ready for any scenario, be it war or be it diplomacy. They're saying that they're ready for any scenario, and they're backing and supporting their government. And one of the major things that happen usually during these events is that Iranians echo the remarks of their supreme leader. The supreme leader and the Islamic Republic in general are calling for a fair dialogue, a dialogue with the United States based on equal footing. And these messages echoed today by this crowd of the supporters of the Islamic establishment. They're saying that they're ready to support the Islamic Republic and the positions of the Islamic Republic during any talks with the United States. They're saying that Iran has the right to enrich uranium domestically. I talked to several people here today, and they all told me that they are calling on the Iranian government to negotiate based on dignity and not to abandon its right to enriching uranium and not to include other topics like Iran's ballistic missile capabilities and, of course, its regional alliances on the table. They're saying they're ready for a deal with the United States as long as that deal respects Iran's sovereignty and, of course, right to enriching uranium locally. Walking among the marching crowd, you can see a lot of signs and messages, especially around the Azadi Square. You can see those missiles positioned all across or all around the Azadi Square, and these missiles send very strong messages to the United States. They want to say that the Iranian ballistic missile capability is non-negotiable. This is something that is echoed by Iranian officials. Iran is saying that it is ready to engage in talks about its nuclear file, but they're not willing to make concessions about their missile capabilities because they believe that the Iranian missile capability is what saved the country during the 12-day war with Israel back in June last year. They're saying that this represents Iran's a deterrence for Iran, of course, and they're not willing to abandon their capability. Mass turnout has always been a significant factor for the Islamic Republic officials, and this year too, the Iranian Supreme Leader, a few days ahead of the event, called for mass participation in today's ceremonies, saying that let's frustrate the Iranian enemies. That was echoed by the Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian, who called mass participation as a means to show or boast national unity to the United States and Israel or Iranian adversaries. So why is it so much significant for Iranian officials? Because mass participation, large numbers of people taking to the streets waving the flag of the Islamic Republic means or is tantamount to a seal of approval for the legitimacy of the Islamic establishment. They see mass participation as a means of support or showing or expressing support for the ideals of the Islamic Revolution, something that they fought for more than 4 decades ago. And this year it gains even more significance. Why? Because it came on the heels of a sweeping nationwide protests that erupted across the country in December last year and continued until 2026, January 2026, and something which was used or resorted to by the United States to tell the world that the Islamic Republic is unpopular. But on the Iranian side, they see such mass participation as a counterweight to those sweeping protests, saying and telling the world, sending this message to the world that let's look at the bigger picture. If there is some protest erupting across the country, there has been also significant support or significant popularity by these people who chant slogans in favor of the Islamic Republic, saying they are ready to give their lives for the supreme leader and for the ideals of the Islamic revolution. So what we see today is a very strong message relayed to the world by the Islamic Republic and by its supporters today that despite the fact that Iran is reeling from the economic pressures imposed by the West as a result of the sanctions, they continue to support their establishment and their leaders. Of course, I talked to several people and they all told me that there is a significant economic hardship in the country. They all suffer under this economic hardship, but they are not willing to give up or abandon the ideals they fought for more than 4 decades ago.
Subscribe to One India and never miss an update. Download the One India app now.